Krishna 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 Hare Krishna 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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
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 Om Sri Surabhyaya Namaha
Sri Surabhyaya Namaha
Om Sri Surabhyaya Namaha
Sri Surabhyaya Namaha
Om Sri Surabhyaya Namaha
Om Sri Surabhyaya Namaha
Mukham karoti vasalam pangum langayate girim Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataram Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Welcome once again after some little interruption. We are still here in South India broadcasting from the Sayadri Sri Krishna Balaram Kshetra SSKBK, which is in the district of Udupi. We are very close to the Udupi Krishna Mat, and South India gets some of the first rains. In the last 1 week or so, we are getting samples of what it will be like in the months to come. We are very close to a place called Agumbe. Agumbe maybe is about 40 kilometers or so from where we are. And this Agumbe, which is mountain area, Saidri mountain range, is known to receive the second highest rainfalls in the whole of India after Meghalaya. Meghalaya is way up north, and it is mega clouds. It is raining there practically constantly. Of course, I've not been there. So we are happy to continue our session here on topics related to Varnasrama Dharma. We hope that all of you are safe and keeping good health in this ever unfolding pandemic of the COVID-19, which continues to baffle many people in that we are not, as stated, I believe, by the top person who coordinates the efforts of the World Health Organization, WHO, who mentioned just, I believe, the day before that we have yet to see the worst. I'm just repeating what he has conveyed. We have yet to see the worst. Therefore, we need to continue being very cautious. We are here at SSKBK and the whole of India, for that matter, on lockdown till the 3rd of May. Let us see what will happen on the 3rd of May. It is expected that certain areas might be released from the full lockdown, but we have yet to see what that will mean exactly. We would like to report also, before reading from Speaking About Varnasrama, and again a reminder to everyone, this book, Speaking About Varnasrama, which is right here, that we are reading every session, is available to every single temple in the world as a complimentary copy. We means the ISKCON Daiva Varnasrama ministry here in India, which has been in existence and operating for the last 11 years actually. It was established in the year 2009, and our primary mandate is to actually promote the whole ideology of Varnasrama Dharma, self-sufficiency, sustainability, becoming localized, and therefore we strongly feel that this book is a must, is actually a must for every single temple. And it is the duty and responsibility of every single temple leader. And this should be enforced. This should actually be enforced by the GBC, because there is a resolution to that effect. It goes back many years, and it was practically forgotten even a few months after it came into existence, what to speak of now. This book gives us that opportunity to hear directly from the mouth of the pure devotee, from the lotus lips of the pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, about the importance, absolute importance, necessity of Varnasrama, not only for other people, but for our own ISKCON devotees as well. So in this respect, also a little update on something that is upcoming within just a few weeks. We will be announcing within 1 or 2 days the exact date of the launching of the Varnasrama College online. I'm very happy to report that actually in the last few days we've had 7 or 8 devotees who are teachers. They have registered online. They have presented the course that they will be offering, and this will be made known very soon once we actually officially launch the website, which will be within the end of May. In all likelihood, we're looking at the mid-May. And even before that, we will open up the website so that students can actually begin to register. At present, students cannot register. Those who are close to this project and who have some experience in teaching, a few of them have already registered. We encourage others to do likewise. And those of you who may be listening and hearing this for the first time, kindly visit our website at www.varnasramacollege.com, and you can get at least on homepage a brief description of the project we are presenting. We're very excited about this because it's in so many ways the need of the hour, actually. In that so many devotees and people in general need to know about this very practical and simple, basic philosophy of life that is summarized by our founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, in the words that we've heard again and again: simple living and high thinking. We have yet to know what is simple living, and in many ways we have yet to know what is high thinking. So therefore, within 1 or 2 days, hopefully by tomorrow, if we don't have another storm tomorrow and all the lights go out, we will be online tomorrow at this time as well, and we will be announcing the actual date for the official opening of our Varnasrama College online. So now I'd like to take a few minutes to read from speaking about Varnasrama. And yes, this is a room conversation in Mauritius on the 5th of October 1975. And some of the key points being discussed here. 1, become self-independent. Don't depend on, rely on others. Yes, we'll read another quote tomorrow in this respect. 2nd theme, the power of purity. Okay, that's a theme in itself, the power of purity. As Srila Prabhupada would explain or tell us, purity is a force. Books are the basis. Preaching is the essence. And utility is a principle. So, that is why we have become devotees. That is why we are endeavoring to become devotees. A devotee means one who is actually purified in consciousness and purified in his habits, pure inside and pure outside, internally and outwardly. 3rd theme, self-sufficiency is possible in any part of the world. That's very important to know. It's not only in India, it is not only in Asian countries, even a place where I'm from, Canada, it is possible to be self-sufficient. I remember when I was quite young, that practically everyone had their own garden and would keep food for the whole of winter, because it snows and it freezes for 4 or 5 months of the year. So this point is very important. Regardless of where we may be, once we learn the basic principles and once we are convinced of this more simplified way of living, focusing primarily on the goal of life, which is self-realization, then we can actually learn to live in a simple way. Another one, which we hear again and again, grow your own grain and produce cloth. These are 2 themes. Actually, one of the devotees who has registered as a teacher, Anantatirtha Prabhu, who is very much connected with the IDVM here in India, will be giving a course on how to actually revive this natural, original cloth, weaving cloth, making one's own cloth. There's a whole science behind that, and we should be very cautious not to lose this science. And then in this exchange, this conversation, Prabhupada, there's some reference to mouse and snake story. Now we won't go over all of this. Let's just take a few sections. Village. Just like you acquire some land. Just we are doing so many places. So you produce your own food, grains, not for making money. This is the malady. This is the disease. This is the big mistake of modern day agriculture. Producing food for money. We don't produce food for money. We produce food for our maintenance, subsistence, first and foremost. And if there is excess, then it can be exchanged. Not for making money, but just for feeding yourself and the animals. Cows. Keep cows. as many cows as possible. That used to be the practice. Increasing the number of cows. Of course, when we say this today, we immediately think this is not practical. In our present context, it is not possible because land is not available. Land has been stolen. Other priorities have been established. Business, factories, industry, and therefore so much of land. It is happening on a daily basis. When I was visiting our different villages, part of the survey that I'm conducting, in so many villages, any village that is within 10, 20 or 30 kilometers from a big city gets amalgamated practically. That village no longer remains a village. This is not in keeping with the Vedic process or the Vedic concept of what a village is meant to be and how to open up other villages or how to set up cities. Cities are also there, but villages are the basis for the vast majority of people. Keep cows, as many cows as possible, and produce, till the ground, field, and make water supply arrangement. We're doing this now at SSKBK. Make water supply arrangement. We're in the process. We were interrupted due to this lockdown, but in Karnataka, where we are, it is allowed activities in connection with agriculture. So we have two main projects, major projects for us actually, because we're just a small handful of devotees who are here. And some of them who are here are not supposed to be here. Rameshwar Prabhu is not supposed to be here. I'm also not supposed to be here. We've extended our 1 week, now over 1 month, due to lockdown. So two of the major projects that are undergoing now, one is a pond. This will be, some devotees already know, this was discussed some years back. Our Nanda Maharaj, actually from Shimoga, had requested one of his friends, who's an engineer, to make a whole design and plan for that. We had selected the area where the pond would be. So finally, after quite a few years, we have this pond under construction, not under construction, but it's being dug up. And simultaneously, our main well for agriculture. The work started today, and this will go on for another, hopefully within 1 week it will be finished. And therefore, water, as Prabhupada knows all these things. Water is so essential. Water for irrigation, water for drinking. It is very, very often one of the major problems that many villages are facing. Actually, this year, it is predicted that in India, which is already suffering due to water crisis, that water crisis will increase even more. So therefore, we need to appreciate and properly utilize the natural resources given by Krishna. And we're in modern day society, modern day lifestyle, we are very careless. We are not appreciating, not understanding the value of what we have been given. We are wasting and spoiling and exploiting the natural resources of nature in so many ways. Then Prabhupada was saying, if the investment is required, we shall do that. Prabhupada was ready to invest for supplying water, because actually this is normally a project that kings would be very much supporting. They would make sure that there is ample supply of water. Why? Because in the Vedic culture, kings who were properly trained and educated knew and understood that actually the best economy is cow-based economy, agriculture. And therefore, water was arranged in so many ways by kings. Now we don't have this kind of arrangement, and therefore we have to rely on the goodwill and support of others. You have no worry about investment, Prabhupada would say. We shall bring money from anywhere. That's our situation here at SSKBK. But the work must be done very nicely. There must be good arrangement for water supply and for plowing and keeping the cows in order. So this is in a community, like here in SSKBK, and we have others here in India and around the world. The main focus has to be on producing food and properly maintaining the cows. Properly maintaining the cows by devotees. Doing agriculture by devotees. This is the proper way to actually please Krishna. When devotees themselves understand the importance and the need and recognize, that they're not all meant to be brahmanas. So very few devotees are actually meant to be brahmanas. The vast majority of them, if we just read the purports to the 7th canto, chapter 11 of the Srimad Bhagavatam, again and again, the Srila Prabhupada emphasizes and clearly spells out that agriculture is meant to be the main activities for householder. I repeat, agriculture, plowing, growing food, looking after the land, looking after cows, is meant to be the main means of support for the vast majority of householders. That means that the majority of our devotees should be making a living in this way. This is the Vedic natural way of actually earning a living, meeting one's necessities. There must be good arrangement for water supply and for plowing and keeping the cows in order. Then you get sufficient milk. Only then, yes, only then when we actually focus. What is amazing is that in so many of our projects, that is, even though devotees are there, that is not the main focus, unfortunately. So the main focus, actually for the whole of the Vedic culture, for all of the residents, beginning, because that consciousness, that understanding, that realization comes from the top, comes from the king, because the king, he is the representative of dharma. He has been trained very nicely for many years on the principles of dharma. And very often he has been trained along with some of his closest friends who are brahmanas. And therefore the brahmanas and the kshatriyas are meant to be very close in friendship. And they are meant to support one another. The brahmanas will give good guidance and direction and to kshatriyas. And of course everyone, but especially to kshatriyas. And the kshatriyas, they will give protection. They will give land, they will give cows to brahmanas and others who are responsible to look after land and to look after cows. Then you get sufficient milk, sufficient food grains, and produce your own cloth. Milk, food, cloth. Sarva kama dugamahi. That injunction in Srimad Bhagavatam. The girls and ladies, they can spin thread. From the thread you make cloth, handloom. So your first necessities of life, eating, and make little cottages, sleeping. Not mansions, cottages. And if you want sex, get yourself married. Live peacefully. And when you are there, you can defend yourself. So the first necessity is how to eat and how to cover. That you have to provide. That is not difficult. You can do it. Then you can become peaceful, no anxiety for your maintenance. And then cultivate this spiritual knowledge the same way. Have a temple. Go on chanting, offering prasadam. You have got your food grains. Don't be dependent on anyone else. Be self-independent. And don't be after money. This is the modern day disease. Money. Don't be after money. Simply produce your bare necessities of life. Keep yourself fit, strong, and chant Hare Krishna. Read books. Then you'll be strong. Is there any difficulty? So we'll go to some of our questions now. This is only one small section of this whole exchange here with Srila Prabhupada. That's why this book is so important. These are, actually all of these are available not only in this book, these are available on tape. Many of these are available, they've been recorded. So on our website that is coming up, Varnasrama College online, we will make available these conversations, lectures that can be downloaded. There's a whole series that are dealing especially with this whole topic of sustainability, self-sufficiency, etc. So now we will go to our questions. We received we were down to our last question a few days ago by Krishna's arrangement. Then a whole bunch of questions came at once, I think about 10-15 questions came, which is good, but it should not be like that. They should come on a regular basis. Not that, then we practically stop, we have to close shop, and then, some devotees wake up, they start sending some questions. So this is question number 73. Yes. From Akimsana Krishna Prabhu, Dubai area. Om Sri Sarvaya Namaha. Question number 1. Actually, the devotees have been sending a series of questions together. It's okay. Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport to Srimad Bhagavatam 9:10:51 as follows. Among the 4 yugas, Satya, Treta, Dwapara and Kali, the Kali Yuga is the worst. I think we can all agree. But if the process of Varnasrama Dharma is introduced, this is the purport, even in the age of Kali, the situation of Satya Yuga can be invoked. The Hare Krishna movement or Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. Question: how does establishing Varnasrama Dharma invoke Satya Yuga? It's actually very simple to understand. Maybe not so simple to do, but simple to understand. Once we understand its simplicity, we can more easily take up the challenge. So, how does establishing Varnasrama Dharma invoke Satya Yuga? In Satya Yuga, two things. Prabhupada writes that in Satya Yuga there is no Varnasrama. So then one may wonder, well, why do we want to invoke Satya Yuga when there is no Varnasrama in Satya Yuga and we're supposed to introduce Varnasrama Dharma? It seems like, it seems confusing. It's not confusing. Now we are in Kali Yuga, and we know that in Satya Yuga, actually everyone is in the mode of goodness. Everyone is Brahman. Brahman realized, you see. Everyone is spiritual. So therefore, there is no necessity for the four divisions. Everyone is Brahmana. So in that sense, we can say Varnasrama is there, the Brahmanas are there. Everyone is very spiritually advanced. So, the purpose of Varnasrama Dharma, the purpose of the social system of the Varnas and the spiritual divisions of asrama is to actually facilitate and help individuals and society in general rise from the lower modes of nature to the higher mode. So, it means that Varnasrama, if it is established properly, will help individuals and society become fixed in the mode of goodness, which will facilitate from that mode of goodness, from that state of peaceful mind, evam prasanamanaso, bhagavat bhakti yogataha, bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sanghasya jayate. In the first canto of the Bhagavatam, it is nicely explained by Shukadeva Goswami how, as we constantly hear Srinvatam Swagata Krishna Punya Sravana Kirtana Ridyanta Stoya Badrani Vidunoti Surit Satam, gradually these lower modes of nature will be diminished and one will become situated in the mode of goodness and in that mode of goodness. What does the mode of goodness mean? It means actually following the four rules and regulations. Prabhupada explains. It means developing the first four of the 30 qualities that one is meant to develop in this human form of life. To be a human being means to develop these 30 qualities, beginning with the first four. Satyam, Daya, Tapasucham, truthfulness, compassion, austerity or discipline, and purity or cleanliness. So therefore, by introducing Varnasrama, we will give that opportunity for people to come to the mode of goodness and then to transcend beyond the mode of goodness to the mode of pure goodness. So therefore, Varnasrama will bring one to Satya Yuga, and that is why it is predicted in the Shastra that in this Kali Yuga there will be a 10,000 year opportunity period, 10,000 year period. That's why Prabhupada mentions that my books will be the guiding light for all of humanity for the next 10,000 years. This we should understand. That's why these books need to go in every town, in every village, in every home, and every institution. These books are meant to be the standing books or standard books of knowledge for everyone. Vedic knowledge, Vedic culture, which is Sanatan, eternal, Sanatan Dharma. Prabhupada actually equates Sanatan Dharma to Varnasrama Dharma. And he equates Varnasrama Dharma to divine culture. We are introducing divine culture. So therefore, it means that by introducing Varnasrama, we will bring people to this higher state of consciousness and therefore evoke, as in Satya Yuga, the level of consciousness of everyone was on that higher level. And when we come to that peak position, we're quite far from that right now. When we come to that peak position, then we may not have to give so much of importance to Varnasrama. See, Kala Desha Patra, these are three very important principles. Kala, time, place and circumstance. A personality like our founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada was expert. All of the Acharyas are expert in adjusting things. Just like Prabhupada mentioned at one point, no more making devotees. Don't make any more devotees. We boil the milk. If you just make new devotees and don't properly train them, we will not have a strong, well-established movement. So at one point, actually, that instruction was there by Srila Prabhupada. Boil the milk. Prabhupada also indicated, don't collect more than you need. Don't open temples more than you need. And especially when there is an imbalance between preaching in the cities and developing these self-sufficient communities, we have to stop, look, and analyze. Are we giving the priorities in the right direction? This is very important. I will not elaborate on this point very much, but the fact remains that there needs to be a constant evaluation and assessment how things are being properly managed, or how are things being properly balanced between the spiritual aspect and the material aspect, between what is called spiritual swadharma. Spiritual swadharma, we spoke about this, and material swadharma. Both are dharma. That we should never forget. But unfortunately, we do. We have. And therefore we create, very often unknowingly, but the fact remains that the result is there, we create imbalances. And therefore we become less effective in dealing with these situations at hand, especially when there are crises. Actually, by creating this kind of imbalance, we generate or create ourselves crises. You see. So therefore, this important question, Varnasrama is the ideal tool, as explained again and again by Srila Prabhupada. It is the ideal tool because it is given to us by Krishna. Why would Krishna invent something or create something if it's not going to be utilized? Krishna has established a system because there's a utility. So in the four, we were mentioning about books are the basis, preaching is the essence, purity is the force. Utility is the principle. Utility is the principle is very much in connection with Varnasrama Dharma. Just think about this. This should be actually the basic principle of how we should be living, how we should be earning, how we should be employed, how we should be training our young boys, our young girls in the proper culture that is given there in the Shastra. So Varnasrama Dharma will, if properly introduced, it needs to be understood, it needs to be accepted by our own devotees. Up to now, this is unfortunately not the case. We're still debating, we're still trying to understand, because we're not properly reading Prabhupada's books, because we're not properly strong in our individual personal sadhana, Prabhupada mentioned in that 7th canto of the Bhagavatam, Varnasrama Dharma can best be introduced amongst those in society who have nicely developed these 30 qualities, beginning with the first 4. The first 4 will enable one to develop the other 26. You see. So therefore, if we are struggling with these 4 basic qualities, means if we're struggling with these 4 principles, these 4 vows that we take for those who are initiated at the time of initiation, then it means that we cannot establish Varnasrama. We need individuals who are serious about following these vows. We need individuals who are serious about following these principles. We need individuals who are serious about developing nicely, properly, these 4 qualities of truthfulness, compassion, discipline, and purity or cleanliness. So I hope this is addressing your question here. We'll take another question. It's also from Kinchan Krishna Prabhu, because question number 2. Your Holiness has mentioned, and Srila Prabhupada also writes about the need to overhaul the social system. Usually overhauling encompasses some confrontation, some resistance. Could you kindly explain how devotees should deal with such situations? The first resistance is our own ego, our own false ego. If we properly study and read the instructions of the Goswamis, the instructions of Shastras, then we will learn to bring about within ourselves. This overhauling needs to happen within our own hearts. Then we will be able to properly deal with whatever other confrontation may be there. There is confrontation every day. In that, as Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita, there's 2 kinds of people in this world. The divine and the demoniac. The asura and the deva. The devotees and the karmis. So confrontation has always existed in the material world, and it will always exist as well. But if one is properly fixed in devotional service, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam, Krishna explains that I will give one the intelligence how one will actually progress and advance. So therefore, it begins with each and every single devotee to become very fixed up in Krishna consciousness. The more we have individuals who are fixed up, then this whole society can become also very strong, very powerful, and will be able to deal with all kinds of situations. So, although it is true that not only are we a spiritual movement, we are also an educational movement. So especially through education, through training and education, we can bring about the needed changes within society. It's like Prabhupada in one lecture. I remember hearing at the very end of the lecture, during the lecture he was speaking about changing society, about changing ourselves, about becoming more serious and more surrendered to the process of Krishna consciousness. At the end of the lecture, and he had spoken also a little bit about democracy. So then he ended the lecture by saying, and now you preach the principles of Krishna consciousness. These are the days of democracy. you convince the majority of people, and then you elect a president who's a devotee. You elect a Vaishnava leader, you see. So, that is one of different ways in which we can bring about the changes. We are meant to be an educational institution, we are meant to be a cultural institution, and we are also meant to be an institution to bring about social changes. But we, as followers of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, are meant to bring a change of consciousness, to begin with in our own selves, and then gradually in the lives of others. Prabhupada actually also indicated that actually majority of people will not become devotees. Prabhupada said only maybe 5% may become devotees. Even if 5% become devotees, that can bring about a complete change within society. So therefore, the other point related to this also very important. Don't be overly concerned about what other people are doing. Be concerned about doing the right thing. Be concerned about giving proper example. You live according to the principles that are there in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. You live according to the principles that are there in terms of Vedic lifestyle. You follow the principles of self-sufficiency and sustainability. You become localized. You grow your own food. You protect the cows. You remain independent, not relying, not depending on a system which is unreliable, which is unnatural, which may collapse any time, which is collapsing in so many ways. The more we, in different parts of the world, the more we continuously strive to do things which are not in line with the dharmic principles that are there, especially in the Vedic literatures. It is there in all the other shastras as well. You see. One of the most fundamental basic principle is to become God conscious. One of the foremost primary duties and responsibilities of every responsible, civilized human being is to worship God every day. To recognize our position of being very small, insignificant, and totally dependent on the gifts provided by material nature, provided by Mother Nature. And who's the father of Mother Nature is Krishna. Yes. So therefore, Krishna will give us the necessary intelligence how to deal with things. We should primarily endeavor to implement this very important instruction given by Srila Prabhupada. You create models. You create examples. You create communities whereby one will not be dependent. And that ideal community is the village prototype. And this, Prabhupada actually mentioned how Gandhi had a good understanding of village, and therefore very often spoke about village organization. Who amongst the devotees are studying about village organization? It's the last thing on our mind. It should be the first thing. And now we are getting close to the end of our program. Although there was no storm today, somehow the lights just went out. Don't mind. I think hopefully you can still hear the audio. And we are pretty close to the end of our session in any event. But hopefully this answers the question how to deal with such situations. Just like devotees, there was a whole dialogue at one time in regards to World War III. Very interesting exchanges that Srila Prabhupada had with devotees who were asking, what will the devotees do during this World War III? Or how to prepare? That was the question. How to prepare for World War III? What was Srila Prabhupada's answer? Very simple. Just chant Hare Krishna. If we chant Hare Krishna properly, Krishna will give us the intelligence. Krishna will give us the intelligence how to prepare for all kinds of situations. Because the chanting of the holy name, what does it mean? As Prabhupada explains, O my Lord, O energy of the Lord, please engage me in your devotional service. Please engage me in your devotional service without any material motivation and without any interruption. Ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasiditi. Only then, when that quality of devotion or devotional service is practiced, only then, yagatma suprasiditi, all of our necessities of life, all of our material necessities of life, all of our emotional, psychological necessities of life, all of our social necessities of life, and all of our spiritual necessities of life will be fulfilled. And until and unless we come to that position, then it means that we are still on the mental platform. Manoratena, riding on the chariot of the mind. As long as we remain on this chariot of the mind, speculating, not properly surrendering, not properly imbibing, taking, applying the clear instructions given by our founder Acharya, by the previous Acharyas, then we will go around in circles. We will simply go around in circles and lament. Lamenting, that is the symptom of Shudra mentality. We should hear properly, apply what we are hearing, then there's no question of lamenting. We will learn to accept situations as they come. Krishna will give us the proper intelligence. We will take up different kinds of training necessary to actually implement the good instructions that are given in terms of how we should be living. Living self-independently, as Prabhupada mentioned in the earlier part of our session today, when reading from the book speaking about Varnasrama. So we have taken up 2 questions today, both from Akinchana Krishna Prabhu, and we hope to continue tomorrow. Once again, thank you very much for being part of this program, especially those who are taking the time to formulate some questions. You know, the whole topic of spiritual swadharma, which is fascinating, which is very deep, which is unlimited, because it deals with the soul and our relationship with Krishna, our eternal activities that fall in what we call Nitya Leela. We are meant to actually become qualified to enter into Krishna's Nitya Leela. However, before we jump into that too quickly, or to come to that point of actually becoming qualified, we must first learn to cope with where we are now. We are in the material world. We have this material body. We are surrounded by the material energy. And there are guidelines given in the Shastra how to properly deal with the material energy, how not to exploit the material energy, how to live in harmony with nature, how to live close to nature, how to depend on the land, on the natural produce from the land, how to depend on the cows, how to understand the natural symbiosis that is there between cows and the land, and between cows, the land, and ourselves, because we are totally dependent on this combination, which today in modern day society has been broken, practically destroyed, and we have this mandate, that is part of our mandate, to bring together this social framework that will help and facilitate devotees to actually practice their Krishna consciousness. So let us keep in mind that we are still in most places around the world in lockdown, and therefore let us take shelter of Krishna and the instructions of his pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, and all of our previous acharyas. Let us remain fixed in our practice of Krishna consciousness. Let us be strong in our sadhana. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, we'll be announcing about the actual launching of our Varnasrama College online. We look forward to hearing from those who would like to be teachers, and we look forward as well to see devotees. And this will be not only for devotees, anyone who's interested in these topics. I'll be mentioning tomorrow the courses that have already been identified, and probably more will be registered by tomorrow. We will close again today by together reciting the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Jai Samasta Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Jai Nitai Gaur Primanande.
Hare Hare Bol.
Hare
His Holiness Bhakti Raghava Swami Maharaj ki Jai.